Hello, everybody, and welcome to Silent Podcast, the place where everything but silent. I'm your host, Isaiah, back again with the Big Brother review series to talk Big Brother 19, unfortunately. Hey, there's a lot of people who like Big Brother 19, so I'm not gonna dog it, but we're here to talk about it. Definitely not my favorite season, but as we said, we're gonna talk about every season, no matter what. I got a very great panel here. I got returning since the Big Brother 23 podcast, Nicole Weaver, Nikki, whatever you want to call it. Nicole, how you doing?
I'll take either, and I am doing great. I saw your tweet about revisiting this season, and I just felt like, it was so tempting that the apple was right there, and I knew I probably shouldn't touch it, but I did, and the punishment was watching 21 full episodes and binging binging a YouTube video for the rest. So I'm here now. I made it through.
All right, and back again since the last podcast we did, Jake. We talked about 21. I want to say, but Jake, how are you doing?
I feel like I'm gonna be stuck with all the bad seasons. I came from 21, and now I'm here with Big Paul on 19. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm so
Oh
excited to be
man.
back though and complain about this season.
All right, but like I said, we are just here to talk a lot of Big Brother. 19. What a wild ride this was, right? I mean, as Jay called they should change the name to Big Paul for this season because it does not feel like a regular Big Brother season, in my opinion. Before we get into a lot of the specifics, guys, it's been a couple of years. What is the general consensus in your opinions of Big Brother 19? Because my God, like rewatching it, I was just like, I have certain feelings, but I'm gonna wait before you guys speak before I even put that out there. So how you feel, Nicole?
You know, um, this was admittedly like my first full season of Big Brother. Before that, a friend of the family would watch the show, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I love reality TV. And that was, of course, had to be 18. I remember Nicole and Paul like doing some kind of competition. So yeah, the nostalgia does nostalgia always have to be positive? Yeah. So the nostalgia for this season's there. I remember who I was at the time. Um and and yeah, but then after the few good seasons that we've had, this rewatch was like a splash of cold water. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, actors used to be part of comps." Like
Yeah.
the live audience was always just there. And I was just like, it was shocking. It was a good reminder of what pre-pandemic Big Brother was.
How about you, Jake?
In my eyes, this is the beginning of a downward spiral for Big Brother for a little bit, excluding Big Brother 20, which I think was a very good season. I think this, along with 21 and 22, was a bit of a shit show for Big Brother, and because they had this fascination to recapture audiences by bringing in returning players or returning Pauls, then they're they became hyper focused, which is something similar that Survivor did with Russell Hantz for a short period of time, but that's a whole other rabbit hole that we don't need to get into. I am not, I don't hate this season, but there isn't much like for this season from my perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about your comment with the returning players and everything. If you look back, the teens of Big Brother definitely are full of a lot of returning seasons. Like you got 13, you got 11, you got literally the season before this 18. Yeah, like there's a whole lot of returning seasons in this area, and this is one of the, if not the only, correct me if I'm wrong, seasons where they have one returnee with a cast full of newbies. The only other one being, I want to say, Big Brother 11, with Jesse Goddard. Yes, but yeah, I don't think this is a bad formula. Personally, one returnee, a whole bunch of newbies. The issue with this season, it feels like they casted a whole lot of recruits people not too familiar with the show, and a lot of people who don't really have any kind of like sense of like individuality within this cast. So it's definitely such a steamroll in some aspects, and obviously we're going to get into it with the specifics and everything. But in hindsight, it's just really interesting to see where we've come. I will say on the rewatch, I'm not as down on it anymore than I originally was. Now that I know the outcome, now that I know the winner, which I mean, the winner's not the best outcome, let's be honest, but I know that sudden feeling of karma definitely kind of hits towards the end. So, I'm not going to call it a satisfying ending, but it's sort of a satisfying ending. It's so weird just to like talk about the season now that, but now that I know the outcome, it definitely was a different, just a different watch altogether. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Very
But
seldom in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
oh
cut
no,
you
you're
off,
good. You're
but
good. Go ahead.
it's very seldom in reality TV, CBS reality TV, where these antagonists or main villains of a season will get their revenge or their karma, especially right at the end. I mean, we saw it in Big Brother 24, where Monty got his shit kicked in at the end. And we see it, spoilers for those who haven't watched Big Brother 19, but the villain of the season does get defeated in the final two. The person who this season is pretty much set up for got their ass kicked in the final two. So it is a little cathartic to watch that finale, even though I was shocked in the moment. I remember watching this in my dorm in college with my friend Jason, I think it was Jason. I don't know. Shout out Jason. But we were just watching, and we were like, Paul's gonna win. Paul's gonna win. Paul's gonna win. Oh my god, what? And so it was an interesting finale.
I really wish I downloaded the Snapchat video on my memories, and I mean, if I feel like it later, I'll download it and put it on here. Of my reaction of Josh taking Paul to the end, and I know we're jumping the gun, but I literally said, "Oh my gosh, he's so stupid! What did he do?" Like I thought that he threw the whole season away, but like hindsight 2020, Josh somehow, some way knew what he was doing. So I'll give him his kudos when we get to his portion. But all right, so so one aspect I definitely want to discuss a little bit, as you said, with this era of Big Brother, because in my opinion, this is the third era of Big Brother going. The first half being up from two, because I don't really count one, two to All Stars one. The second era being, I want to say, 8 to, I want to say, 14, and then 15 through 22, and then now the new era is 24 and 23, obviously. But this being the third era, this is the era of, I want to say, Allison Grodner going through a whole lot of experiments, a whole lot of new twists, and like trying to reshape the game in some way. And if there's 2 seasons, 3 seasons, honestly, that are very like twisted out, I want to say it's Big Brother 18, Big Brother 19, and Big Brother 20. And for those who haven't watched it, Big Brother 20 definitely full of a lot of twists and all that. We spoke about it last week. This season is no different. Just to go down some of them, we have the Den of Temptation that held things like the Pendant of Protection, the Ringer Replacement, the infamous Halting Hex that everyone likes to talk about to this day. There was a 17th house guest being Paul Abraham, of course. And then we also have the Big Brother Swap, the Battle Bat competition, the Temptation competition, the Tree of Temptation, and so on. And we had to save a friend. So this was crazy. They I don't know what they were thinking in the boardroom. They probably were like, look, we have a bunch of stuff we want to throw in there. We don't have enough room to do this, so they threw it here. Obviously, I'm sure some of these were recycled for the Big Brother app store that we never got to saw. But I mean, Nicole, like, what was going on here? Like, what is the opinion of these twists?
Okay, I might have a different opinion than you because
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I was like, the vision is clear. It's about temptations. I feel like they tried to go for the same thing with 23 with like gambling, but even the first live episode, we have like Julie kept hyping up that one thing that Frenchie was supposed to gamble. He was like, no, absolutely not. And I was like, is this gonna be how the season? It kind of was. They gamed everything. The temptation was so fun because there was so much anonymity to it. You just didn't know what was gonna happen. So it's just yes or no. That's your decision. I love that America was very much part of this game. Like just every week, not every week, but a couple weeks we're voting who we want to give something to. And it was harder for them to game. Like the fact that Jessica just had that in her pocket, she kind of lied of what it did. She was like, yeah, me and Cody are going to be safe for like 3 weeks or whatever. And Julie's just sitting there like, okay, well, next week, like not even addressing. I was like, can she just lie like that? No, I had so much fun with it. And I think the fact that again, pre-pandemic, they had these people dressed up as snakes and stuff. And I was like, I'm enjoying this theme a lot. If it had different players, maybe we would have enjoyed it more.
How about you, Jake? I mean, look, are you with Nikki? Is this like, good try, just bad cast? Like, what do you feel?
I think I partially agree with what Nikki said, but some of the twists did not add up in my mind. The big one, why Paul? I get that they really liked them. They thought they were good casting, they were entertaining. But for the theme of temptation, why Paul? It didn't make sense to me. And I think, I thought the Den of Temptation was actually kind of cool, but I think it was a little broken and very obviously rigged for Paul, especially with the pendant of protection, very similar to how the MVP was rigged for Alyssa. In season 15, I think. And going back to what you said about the cast, I think there was a select few people who were interesting casting choices that I thought went against the grain of typical casting. Ramses, for example. I am not a fan of this person personally, but I think Cody was so opposite of everything Big Brother had ever done before. I remember specifically there was a challenge where he had to read a cue card and everyone was hamming it up and he was like, I'm Cody Cloud, achoo. And I remember that specifically and laughing my ass off. I don't like him. I don't like what he stands for, but he was an interesting casting choice. And so and then Kevin, the mob boss, like, I think they had a few interesting characters in there, but to paint a narrative, I would equate this to Survivor Redemption Island almost. A few interesting people, but they clearly were just meant to prop up one person.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, about the show possibly being like pushed a certain way for Paul. I was getting flashbacks to Big Brother 14, where the coaches for the first few weeks completely safe, could do and say whatever they want. And obviously, it's not the same for Paul, but like, I mean, come on. First of all, no one's not going to take that money. First of all, the second thing is friendship bracelets. Like you guys just handed him kingpin role, and then luckily, I will say, Cody being our first HOH, very close to getting Paul out. But then he's like, hey, I have this power that America voted for me. Of course, they're going to vote for Paul. He's the only person there that people are familiar with. He was very favored last season. It's like, it was so obvious that he was going to win that. So, it's just the small things. It's like, okay, like you guys definitely gave this guy a crush in the first week or two, and then obviously for the rest of the game he's on his own. But my God, like if this isn't blatant production help, I don't know what it is. But what are you gonna do?
Not the only person this season that production gave crutches to.
Chris, you're talking about Halloween. I'm dead. um, but so we could talk about this cast. And, I will say, pre-jury not the most memorable pre-jury in Big Brother. I used to put this season on like this is the worst cast ever, but then since then Big Brother 21 has happened, so I don't really give it that anymore. I will just say that this cast is just very messy. First of all, feel bad for Cameron. I think Cameron is one of the few casualties of what Ian Terry and Steve Moses produce. And I'll say John Cochran too. I just think this nerd archetype in Big Brother just like got very worn out. I guess you can even call Nicole somewhat that archetype, not really, but like people are just tired of the nerds going far and doing this whole like, oh, carry me to the end. I mean, Kevin Jacobs literally just did the same thing in Big Brother Canada. So it's like, what are you going to do there? Don't blame them. Um, but the more interesting person to talk about this early is Megan. Megan, who totally forgot how she got out, but like until rewatching, homegirl came on, allegedly heard, I think it was Jessica saying something racist, apparently calling Alex Panda potentially. Megan rats on her, and then it turns to this whole thing. They're saying, "No, I didn't." This person's like, "Oh, this Megan's lying for game," and then Megan eventually walked from the game. This was crazy, guys. Like, Megan kind of reminded me of like Joey in terms of messy, but was Megan was Megan in the wrong here? Like how did we feel about that?
Megan, justice for Megan. Justice for Megan. When I almost, first of all, revisiting this, and I looked at everyone in that first episode, I almost already knew the boot order, because when I saw Cameron, I was like, who? And then when Megan, I was like, the blue hair jogs something, but again, who? You must be out. And I could not predict. Like, I could not, like, jogging my memory back, watching how that whole thing went down. That's one of those moments, especially if you're a live feeder, where you just want to go into the house, because she was right. She misheard Panda. It was Pow Pow, which I wouldn't have gotten that. But she then so when Jessica has the like reasonable doubt, she confronts her and she's like, I've never said Panda in my life. I'm like, Megan, you need to ask what she referred to her as. Her name starts with an A. She obviously said a P, put her on the spot, and it never happened. She was just too frazzled. And I was like, no.
Yeah. How about you, Jake?
So, one, I'll quickly touch on Cameron. I liked Cameron. He was kind of like Peter Parker minus the Spider-Man. And I fuck night one evictions. I think they're stupid and they should be done. And whoever came up with them, I hope they step on 3 Legos. But Megan, my heart broke for Megan because one, Nikki, you're absolutely right. She should have put her on the spot because even calling her Pow Pow is a little fucked up because you're comparing her to another Asian house guest just because they look the same. No, they don't. They don't look anything alike. Second, I don't know if we knew this, but I did a little research onto Megan leaving. She actually had an episode of a pretty bad PTSD attack because she used to be, it was either in Army or Marines, I don't remember. And all the screaming at her, all the people coming at her, it sent her in a spiral. She went in the DR. So that is the reason she walked from the game. So I don't think Megan was messy. I think that she spoke up for someone who she thought was being bullied because she was a good person, and people dogpiled on her. And dogpiling was such a big theme this season. And I think if this didn't happen, I think the season plays out so much differently because I don't know for a fact, but Paul saw it worked on one person. Maybe they tried to do it on other people because almost every single week, I mean, Dominique, Jason, Mark, fucking red-haired girl, Raven, all of them were dogpiled on. So
Yes.
I just think it was a start of a really bad trend that unfortunately sent a poor woman into an episode of a PTSD attack.
Yeah, and it's really crazy. Just like everyone was just kind of like off Megan immediately and didn't even like take her words in consideration. My God, like how far we've come from Big Brother, because this game is so much different. The investigations, everyone would have been like, who said what? Like, like everyone just kind of took it for word that like Megan was a liar afterwards. And I think they were just like, strategy. They just want to survive and all that. But like it was definitely crazy how that all went down. And I remember being shocked. I was like, "Whoa, she really just walked from the game." Like, I'm trying to think the last time we saw someone walk from the game. I mean, obviously we had in the last season a Big Brother, but like at the time it was not a regular thing. So I was like, "Whoa, like this is wild." But I mean, what are you gonna do, Megan? I'm sure she's fine now. She's far removed from Big Brother and all that, but that was crazy to see. But another thing I wanted to talk about, in this early pre-merge phase. I mean, obviously Cody is the HOH week one. I think Cody potentially has the worst HOH ever. And that's a lot because of production. Why I'm saying that, if you look at it, not only does he make a wrong call trying to put Paul in and not tell anybody, don't know what the guy was thinking there, but he had to put up 6 different people for nomination, not only because of Megan leaving, but also because of Paul playing his ring. I'm pretty sure because Christmas got hurt, and then a veto was used. It was just crazy to watch. So like this guy completely put up half of the house in the first week, and I was like, yeah, he's screwed. Like there's no way they're going to come back from this. But I mean, we're going to talk about Cody in a little bit. I just wanted to bring that up. Do we have any other people obviously in this pre-merge that are interesting? Like in my opinion, guys, the only real big beneficiaries that kind of have like something to talk about is Dominique and Jessica here. We can touch up on Jessica. I mean, Jillian leaves before her, but Dominique got done so dirty. First of all, this was the classic. Wow, like just seeing a black person get disrespected this way was insane. First of all, I want to say Cody had an ideal structure where he wanted to have like this cool kids club and like the offbeats are on the outside. He wanted Cameron, Megan, and Jillian and Paul and Kevin, a lot of those people to be out on the outsides. And Dominique was originally incorporated in that. With that being said, after Cody got exposed and they got him the hell out of here, Dominique was definitely thrown out of that structure, and Paul started a new structure with Christmas and Josh being in the ends, and then obviously the showmances with like Mark and Elena, and then Raven and Matt, and then everyone else to the side, right? So Dominique unfortunately started sniffing that out, and then, word got out, Paul found out, and then we have the infamous, oh, I'm a snake, so I'm going to dress like one. And he paints his face black and it looks like blackface. And, it goes really bad and it's not a good look even to this day. But how do we feel about Dominique, man? I mean, like, I know the show had like a segment about her doing tongues, which is very iffy. We're still with this whole archetype too, where like everyone's like super church related and all that. And, not only Dominique, but Jocasta was there recently. And, it's just like, there's just a lot of implicit bias towards Dominique in the season, in my opinion. So, I mean, how did we feel about the portrayal, but also treatment of Dominique at this point?
Um, okay. One thing that I
It's a
was
lot.
not, the one thing that I don't know, I think because I had such the like stoic military man picture of Cody, I was not prepared for when he broke down his team, because for some reason this season no one says alliance, they say teams and being team players, which was weird to me. But for his team, he pointed out that it was the babes, and Dominique was one of them. And I was like, this is weird. But then, yeah, I can't believe that Paul turned her fake talk show into a reason to get her out. Like,
Yes.
again, at the time of it being my first like season to watch, I was like, I guess that was a bad move, but for me, I was like, it seemed like it could have been nothing. She was very religious. She said God told her Paul 3 times. She heard Paul's name 3 times, which I wonder if she then heard someone say Paul in the house and was like, that's my son, or it came to her in her head. I had that question. And my last thing is when she got voted out, I paid so close attention because at this point we got Julie Chen, not Julie Chen Moonves. So when Dominique was in there for her self-eviction, or not self, for eviction interview with Julie, she might have name dropped God like almost every other sentence. Julie gives her nothing on the religious point and just stuck to the game.
Okay.
And I'm like, look at this. Look
Okay.
at this, not including religion into the exit interviews. Like, how refreshing or how different. So that's how I the things that I noticed about Dominique's journey.
Yeah, Julie was definitely different before the whole Les Moonves situation. Jake, how about you? How did you feel about watching all this back?
I think that unfortunately there was an archetype on Big Brother for way too long where women of color were being seen as church women. I mean, you think Jamaica from Big Brother 8, you think Dominique, and you think Jocasta, and all of them were hyper religious. And I'm personally, when I watch Big Brother or Survivor, I'm very anti bringing religion into the game. It feels icky to me. But going into the season, I remember rooting and like kind of just being like, Dominique is gonna fuck this up. Like, she's gonna kill it. And I was very disappointed in the behavior exhibited towards her in the game. Isaiah, I don't think it looked like blackface what Paul was doing. I think it was blackface what Paul was doing. And I think it was absolutely disgusting. And people in the house had to physically stop him from doing it. Or stop them from doing it. Excuse me. Paul uses they, them pronouns. I apologize. And I don't have much more to say on the topic other than that. It's just that I felt for Dominique.
Yeah, it was crazy to watch. Just like 2 seasons later, the whole Nicole and Ovi situation where everyone's in the house, and there's just a lot of situations before this new school like mentality where you're just in a group, and if they're not in your group with you, you got to bully them. It's just so crazy to watch, which is why I'm very happy for 23 and 24 that like we're kind of changing that now. But like it's just really wild to see, and I'm just like, this is why I started falling off of Big Brother a little bit, because it's just like it just got really hard to just watch people purposely treat a lot of people badly. And I mean, there's a little bit more the deeper we get into it. I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but wow, crazy. Anyways, lastly, just to discuss about these pre-jury people, Ramsey's eliminated afterwards, and then same with Jessica. Obviously, there was a battle back situation. Cody gets back in the game after his whole crap went down, and Jessica, and I mean, we could talk about Cody here too because they go back to back, but Jessica basically wastes her HOH because she eliminates Ramses, and it was. I mean, I'm gonna blame Cody. It was Cody's fault, but Jessica was like, "Look, we should take a shot at Paul," and Cody's like, "No, we gotta like play to the popular crowd. We gotta kiss ass." And they were like, "Put up Ramses and someone else." And it just kind of sucks because I think Jessica had the right idea, but like Cody kind of strayed her to a different navigation. But they did not have the best reads. Obviously, everyone was very threatened by Cody because of his own mindset, and I think people didn't like Jessica because I think Jessica was the more favorable one, but when she was with Cody, she was loyal to Cody, and people did not like that. So, they jumped them. I'm never gonna forget Paul getting the entire house to like yell at them, and I'm just like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like this was the moment where I was like, Paul really has these people in line. Like they like at this point, every single person is in line outside of Jessica and Cody to do exactly what Paul wanted to happen. So it was wild. Lastly, I'll say just to set it up, Kevin obviously was thinking about taking a shot at Paul at some point and brought it up, and then it got back to Paul. So this is where people like Alex were starting to like fall off on Kevin. It was just crazy. But Jessica and Cody, I mean, wow. I mean, so obviously outside of the house, the perception is a little bit different because we know of some of the comments that Cody's made and how he moves now. But at the time, I was definitely a big Cody and Jessica fan. Was interesting to see Jessica get pre-jury and then basically rally all of America to get Cody America's favorite player. But how do we feel about them? Obviously, they've come back since then and they've played Amazing Race and they won $1 million. So karma actually kind of came to their direction. But I mean, how did we feel with this group, the showmance, if that's what we want to call it?
Well, yeah, this was a showmance heavy season. Like that was also something wild to rewatch of like not one, not two, but 3 showmances.
Yeah.
At the time I did not like Cody and Jess. It was given bad vibes. And at the time I was like, who did I like? And at first I thought it was Alex, but then the whole not believing Megan, I think did put a bad taste in my mouth. So, but it's interesting watching back, knowing these 2 people are together. They made humans together and everything. And it's like, I actually think Jessica, I kind of am curious if she would come back and play the game alone, like Rachel Riley did, what her game would be, because she was making friends. Cody ruined her game so badly by not letting her in, not telling anyone, and then automatically they're like, but you sleep in the same bed, so how could you not know? Like, she was never gonna win against that perception. And afterwards, what I will give Cody is at least he seemed like a supportive boyfriend during the time, because after he got back in the house, he's like, I'm listening to you, I say nothing. And Jessica's like, damn right, you say absolutely nothing, you have done enough. And I think both of them are smart though. Like, Cody knew, you need to get Paul out, what are we doing here? And sadly, because Paul did have that production side, the friendship bracelets, it's like you said, Kingpin, it gave cult leader to me. Of like, and yeah, later on, when you talk about Paul sticking the rest of the house, he literally called them like his dogs at one time. Like, I think he says it sarcastically to Cody and Jessica, but it's like, but they are, and like, and he was condescending sometimes of saying like, you're like my child, I'm so proud of what you're doing in this game. It's like, what they're doing is just what you're saying, but they want that validation from a vet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the power dynamic you put in here, and Jess and Cody never fell for that. Always will give respect on that note.
How about you, Jake?
Yeah, Nikki, you absolutely put that beautifully. You kind of, like, any point that I wanted to make, you just kind of said, and so I appreciate that. The thing I'll give about those 2 is, I remember during the season, I would like look up moments of them on the live feeds because they were so damn cute together, and I hated how cute they were together. And the 2 of them, I hate that I'm saying this, they were kind of effortlessly funny. Like, especially Cody was was hilarious. Just the walking on the table with the elimination and well, that's why I'm single. And I had fun watching the 2 of them. Knowing what I know now, I very disappointed that Cody was America's favorite player, but like, could you imagine being Paul in that moment that Cody won America's favorite player? Because Paul was probably expecting it to be them. Yeah. And they just lost the game. They're like, at least I got AFP. And they're not even in the top 3. Mm-hmm. And then Cody wins. I mean, oh my. those two, Jess and Cody, I don't think they will be casting like them anytime soon, but I would love to see Jessica for second chances because I think she's got a real shot. I think CBS likes her, and I I think she was the brains of the operation. And if Cody would have kept his big muscly mouth shut, I think would have been a different season.
For sure. I mean, just to talk about cameos, I remember they played a cameo during that little musical number during Celebrity Big Brother 1. Obviously they came back and won Amazing Race. And, even there we saw Cody was such a competition because, my God, and Jessica was definitely the brains just like here. So, wouldn't mind to see Jessica. I've always put Jessica on my list. I mean, obviously, probably not going to get that now that they have a family. They want a show. They're probably like, I'm good. I don't need it anymore. But it will be interesting. Lastly, I did want to show a clip because you brought it up already of Cody's elimination because it's probably one of the better eliminations. We will not get another person like Cody who is unscripted, not doing what the DR tells him to do. Like, it was so funny, but I'm just going to play it real quick.
By a vote of 7-0, Cody, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Right on the table. I remember my heart actually jumped a little when he did that because I was like, he's gonna fall through the table. He's gonna fall through.
Yeah, he did not care.
He did not. He was like, I will not touch any of you. Like, I'm going straight for it. And there he goes.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. You go.
No, I was going to not completely. There was something else I wanted to mention about Jess's game because I completely forgot until I rewatched. Jess's feud with Alex kind of over Cody. Did not remember that whatsoever. And Cody, okay, I am confounded by this human being because I did remember the very stoic version of Cody when he was choked up putting Alex on the block, and that's the first time we see him cry. And then Jess later on is like, so you have feelings? Like, why are you crying over this other woman who's not me? She has to go. I was like, do not remember this at all. And it's interesting that he has such high respect for these two women because they're such fierce competitors. Again, not a fan of Cody, but I'm like, there's some things here that I'm enjoying actually about him on this rewatch.
I will say I remember he was during his first HOH very feeling horrible to put Christmas up too because he thought that she would be a good competitor. I think he respects people who are very competitive like him, and that's where you see the soft side in Cody. I did notice that when I rewatched that. I did not remember, so that was very interesting to see back as well.
Speaking of his soft side, one of honestly the saddest moments of the entire season in my mind, and a moment that I got choked up watching, was when Christmas used the ring, and she put herself in the veto. I don't remember who she took out. It was Jess or Cody, and it just killed their chances.
Yeah.
And Cody just starts breaking down, sobbing in the back room with Jessica, just being he couldn't protect her, and I was just like, oh my god, this guy's a human. And it's interesting because clearly he cared about Jessica so much. I mean, he full on said in his second eviction, I'm gonna marry Jessica, and I mean, he did.
There's just something about Big Brother that has a higher success rate than I'm sure actual dating shows have, because they actually provide families, which is very weird to see because I don't think The Bachelor, Love Island, or any of these other shows have done that to the same extent as Big Brother has. So it's pretty crazy. Just to touch up, and this goes back to the twist that I was talking about. Not only that, I'm so mad that I glossed over this. The halting hex was a thing where they were obviously down bad, and it was to the point where all right, Jessica had to lie and say, I have a power that's going to keep me and Cody safe for a few weeks, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to still put you up, burn your power, and then we're going to target Mark and Elena if this flops. Obviously they were lying a little bit. It was just, for just to cancel an elimination. They obviously get backdoored and still send out the next week. But for Paul to basically coordinate every single person to go to Jessica and be like, look, we want to work with you, not with Cody. If Cody's here, we can't work with you. They were this close, in my opinion, to turning Jessica against Cody. And even if you watch on the feeds, because at the time, Cody and Jessica were fighting because Jessica was trying to do damage control with Paul, and then Cody gets in a huge argument with Paul. Cody and Jessica were almost done right then and there. But Jessica was like, no, I'm still gonna stand beside Cody. I don't care. And I mean, obviously, life changes. It was a great move at that point, but for their lives at least, not for the game. But wow, like there's so much stuff going on here. Anyway, you can see how much of the season is revolved around specific people, because this cast is not that good, and Jessica and Cody are definitely some of those people that it revolves around. But moving on to the jury phase, obviously Cody's the first juror. There's not a lot to speak with a lot of these jurors, because a lot of their games were centered around Paul, if not all of them. Just to kind of like speed through some of these, Mark and Elena were, I mean, guys, what's the best word to use here? Because I would use the word followers.
I was gonna just say there.
Yeah, they were there.
Mark and Elena were there.
Yeah.
One thing that surprised me though with the rewatch was that they did turn on Paul at a certain point. When Cody comes back, they're like, "Hey, let's try this again." It felt like a double date. It was like they were a polycule. The polycule broke up into two pairs, and then they like are trying to date again. And the goal was get out Paul. And I was like, okay, like Mark and Elena might try something. And because Mark is this like big dude, he was able to put up a fight in some cases. But yeah, that's one thing I'll give them. They at least jumped the Paul ship at some point.
And then on top of that, like it's sad. The only things that I can remember with these two, first of all, Elena did not seem that loyal to like Mark. Like she was ready to throw Mark to the wolves the second she could. And honestly, I think Paul misplayed there. I think if he weaponized Elena, that would have been a really good move for him. But I mean, obviously he failed with that. Mark though, first of all, I remember people calling him Wreck-It Ralph at the time. I thought that was funny. But I mean, compelling story, because I think both his parents died. But in the house, like he was just so for himself. I'm not going to forget all the fights him and Josh had. For example, they were playing pool. One of them scratched or something, and then they start throwing ketchup and mustard at each other. I remember the tutu thing in the kitchen where he grabbed the pot out of Josh's hand and almost hit him. Like Jake, I mean, what was Mark doing here at this point?
I think you just said what Mark was doing. He was getting instigated by Josh and trying to blow up. It's why I think it was another instance of like a really shitty dog pile of Josh was using this tactic of getting in Mark's head, knowing his weakness and exploiting it, his weakness being his own temper. I mean, they had to literally come over the loudspeaker and be like, opposite sides of the house, you two like need to back off. I remember watching that live on the feeds when it was happening, and I was like, oh shit, Mark and Josh are going to be out. And miraculously, it worked out for one of them. Mark was there. I almost said he ate a lot of cereal, but that was the other 4-letter M named. Also, Elena and Josh were dating like after the show. I don't know if you guys saw this, but
they were clout chasing, in my opinion. I think they were trying to get on X on the Beach because that was the new hot show at the time, and they were trying to show it like they were dating. They weren't. Like let's be honest. Okay. Joseph in the chat says Mark definitely had a thing for Elena. I don't know if it was the other way around. I agree. I will say, it's crazy. We're 44 minutes in this, and we haven't even spoken about the winner yet. But yeah, I mean, I think this is what the winner was good at, and not necessarily to his own expense, but like he was so low on the threat level that no one really respected him as a player. I remember the times where Josh had power, where he wanted to do certain things and then ended up not doing it because Paul told him not to do it. And, you know, he was definitely like a guard dog for Paul. Paul would be like, hey, go troll Mark and Elena. He would do it. Go troll Cody and Jessica. He would do it. Go start a fight with Kevin. He will do it. Like, Josh would fight tooth and nail with everybody for Paul. And I was just like, whoa. Like, I don't think I've ever seen control this way. Not even from Dan, not from Derek, nobody. Like, Paul was just on a different level. It was crazy to see. I definitely wanted to pull off. Like, I'm mad. Like, the feeds, I'll give it credit, were popping this season because, my God, they were so messy. I remember watching this fight live. I'm just gonna play it real quick, but my God,
so much, so much. Don't fucking touch. Get the fucking hands out of the fucking thing.
I missed the fish. I missed that. Where did they go?
I was like, what the hell?
Oh my goodness.
I remember there was another. Oh, sorry.
But my one question the whole time, every time he pulled out that why that song? Was it just like in Creative Commons? Like, he ran it by production and they're like, that's the one song, it's free, go ahead.
The first time he did it was during one of the challenges. I don't know if it was like an actor coming out and doing that or something, but it just stuck after that one challenge and he kept doing it for the rest of the time. It was the return comp, the circle, I mean the construction return comp, and he was like, the Jessica on the fall, like, and then he just kept doing it for the rest of the season. I was like, what the hell is this? You know, so yeah. What were you saying, Jake?
So back to that fight, there was a moment that made the live episode that I thought was so funny. It rivaled the table walking for what I think is the funniest moment of the season, and it encapsulates Josh's game to a T. Everyone was sitting there, and they were like kind of going at Mark and Elena, and they were like, "Oh, we should have gotten you out a while ago," talking to Elena, and Josh was like, "I said that," and then everyone was just like, "Josh," and he was like, "Sorry," and I thought it was just really funny, and it encapsulates what he did best. And that was annoy people. And he annoyed people into not voting Paul to win. Oh, I can't wait to talk about Josh at the end. I cannot.
And I'm fast forwarding through this segment. I'm not going to put it on, but it's so ridiculous watching this whole pool segment where Mark throws juice at Josh's face. He's throwing mustard. This is just so sick. But what are you going to do? Next is... we can talk about these people in duos because this is all around the same areas. It goes Matt, then Jason, then Raven. I'm going to talk about Matt and Raven real quick because there's not a lot to talk about here. I think Matt is one of the worst players to ever play Big Brother. I know he had a lot of hype coming into this season, but he did not meet the hype whatsoever. He just sat around, ate cereal, and him and Raven will hook up every now and then. And, you know, that was it. You know, I think the rest of the game is such a steamroll for Paul. It was so masterful. He had three duos, two of them being showmances, and he will play as the third person. Obviously, Matt and Raven were one of them. Mark and Elena were one, and then you got the eventual final three being Josh and Christmas and him. And then Kevin was just there. He just existed. I'm not gonna forget Jason and Alex. So four duos he was sitting in between, which is wild to look back at. But Matt and Raven, I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time here. I know people now have like this huge fascination around Raven. I don't understand it, but Jake, I mean, your facial expression.
It's just the memes. It's the memes of her like looks. Yeah, there was one big fight that she was like, what was it, like outside in the backyard? I see that clip a lot because it's like, Raven, what are you doing?
Is that the fight where she went woof woof motherfucking woof? And
after Paul said they're dogs. I was like, you do not. as a woman, like I would never, if someone, even if it was included with men, being like, these are my dogs, go wolf. She wild. She
Mind
wild.
blown. I just like I don't know what to think about this. It was just like I'm never gonna forget Raven going to the jury house. Well, first of all, before I even get to that, she was a huge liar. She kept blaming things on her pacemaker, but going to the jury house and be like, yeah, me and Paul were masterminds of the season. We ran this game. And then the whole argument Mark and her got in, and then everyone calling her dumb was just so crazy. I'm not going to forget Matt getting in an argument with someone. Then he was like, you're such a liar, dude. What's going on, dude? Oh my God. Dude. Like, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. But the last thing I wanted to, I was searching for it real quick. I can't stand Rob. But shout out to Rob Sessionina.
I was just about to mention it.
Someone recorded this off of their phone. I'm not going to skim through this video, but this is Rob's exit interview with Raven real quick. Sorry if it's hard to hear.
What was your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid that Paul made in the house, and was it good?
Oh, it was like a cherry flavor.
Yeah.
It was delicious. Anything Paul makes, honestly, is good. I can see why last season they thought he was like an undercover chef because he's an amazing cook.
Yeah.
Paul, Rob is such a troll.
My question for you two: did Raven know that Rob was fucking with her?
No, she thought he was dead serious. The only two people who have been like that is not only Rob has trolled Raven and Annalise in their exit interviews, and they just like gave this long explanation. I'm like, how? Like, are you serious? But mess. What are you gonna do? Look, that's the mastermind of the season now.
I also remember on the feeds, Raven talked a lot of shit about Cody, which she said something that was very out of pocket. She said, yeah, the only reason Cody and I aren't together is because I want kids and Cody would never have kids. And he told me that. So, Cody has a daughter. So that was just a really fucked up lie that Raven said. And I don't like Raven. I think she's icky.
I did not. Okay, when the first episode and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a single father," I was like, "What?" I totally forgot. That's wild. That's a wild statement for her to make.
What are you gonna do? Okay, so just to get through these last people, we got Jason and Alex, who I think they had a lot of promise, and I feel like if Paul did not exist in the season, they could have done pretty well, actually. I think Jason was the comp beast, and Raven she won her comps too, but she was also the brains of the operation. They put way too much trust into Paul, unfortunately, but they were playing the rounds around people. My only issue with this group, first of all, I think Alex had tunnel vision on Kevin and kept wanting to target Kevin for some reason. I'm like, Kevin is not a threat. Who cares about Kevin? Jason wanted to work with Kevin, and she convinced him to work with to target Kevin instead of what she wanted. It was just mess. And then I think Jason had the right idea, but he made a selfish move, as he should, targeting not targeting Kevin and taking out who he took out instead, with I think it was when Matt and Raven went home. But it's just like, I don't know, like he made a deal with them and then he went back on it, and then Paul used that as an excuse to turn on them, and it just went downhill at this point, guys. But like, I mean, what's our feelings with Jason and Alex?
Yeah, I hate Alex. I hate her so much. And there are two types of players that I just cannot stand. Mm-hmm. Criers and egos. And Alex's ego was so big that it did not fit in that house. And she just frustrated the hell out of me. I respected her competition game because she kind of killed it. But the way she talked about herself, how much she loved herself, it was so annoying. Like, And the farther she got in the game, the more annoyed I got. The reason I tolerated was because at least Jason liked her, and I was pretty okay with Jason. And it was just, and then when she was voted out and she showed up in the jury house in her Wiener Woman costume or whatever it was called, what a cringe ball. Like, oh my God. And then it was like, you want to be friends? Fine, let's be friends for the jury vote. You didn't slay. You did everything that they told you to the entire season. You got into fights with people. You were ruthlessly mean. Alex was so personal with all of her insults. It was just like, I don't like you, Alex. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
go, Nicole.
I wanted to root for Alex when I sat down again. I did not remember rooting for her. So I was like, maybe something's going to come up, but I want to root for her. It was so great in that first endurance comp where like Cody thought he can Jedi mind trick her, being like, oh, you could be good with me. And she was just like, eat shit. She was like, no offense, but eat shit. That's what made Cody like fall for her. I was just like, yeah, I'm feeling it. But then the Megan thing happened, and it's not just that she didn't believe Megan. She very specifically in the diary room, Alex said, you know, I'm not offended by certain things, but then I thought of like my family and like generations back of who would, I was like, no girl, you should care. You should absolutely care for yourself. Like that's not a thing to like tell people proudly. So I was like, okay, something is off with this one. When it comes to her gameplay, I think the only time I liked Alex was when it was in opposition to Cody, because I loved watching Cody like actually want her validation, and she refused to give it to him. Like when he had his HOH and he was like trying to approach Alex to be like, all right, like what would you do if you went HOH? Alex, and again, this is to your point, Jake, her ego, because who says this? But she was like, oh, you know, I would take out like the showmances. And Cody just sits there like, Alex, exhausted because all he wants is to work with her while his girlfriend cannot stand her. But he was really willing to put it on the line. I was like, I love this dynamic. And it continued. I loved that she told Cody, like, these girls don't like me, but I'm not on The Bachelor. Like, I'm not here to get a boyfriend. And she said that to Cody's face. And I know Cody in the back, he was like, I know that showmances suck, but I love Jess. Like, she just knocked the wind out of his sails anytime she could. And I lived for her very specifically in those moments. The rest, I'm just like, okay, girl, with your cat ears. Sure.
No, I will say I was not the Alex fan. I was not the biggest Alex fan either at the time, but you know, kudos where kudos is due. She was really good at competitions, and she was a menace. Like just a tunnel vision, man. Just like her, so focused on Kevin. I forget what he did specifically, but she was just so obsessed with getting Kevin out, and I just never understood why. The way that she, I mean, to be honest, I would have been bitter too if like I promised my entire game to Paul and then just throws you off to the wolves. I think Paul, you know, there's something about Alex, because she did this not only to Paul but Cody as well, as you guys said, where she would just like, it was so apparent what her emotions were at the time that you would be scared to cross her. Where like Paul even felt horrible taking Alex. I think this is the only person the entire season that Paul felt bad voting out. He would purposely have votes circled around the point where he wanted to be the only one that wasn't voting for this person, and Josh and Christmas would pick up on that, but I mean obviously they didn't do nothing about it. But this guy felt so horrible voting Alex out because she really threw her entire game away for this guy, and he just like threw her out to the trash can. So it was crazy to see. But what are you gonna do? I know there's some people who do want Alex back. I wouldn't mind her. I mean, she's not problematic or anything. And I mean, you need a villain, but I don't think she's one of the better villains of recent years. But if Paul was not in this season, I think she would have did a lot better, and it would have been a huge Vanessa, like not in the control factor, but just like a menace and a villain. But what are you gonna do? We got Kevin, who we can also
One last thing
go,
about Alex.
go.
Her goodbye message to Jessica. I don't know if y'all remember this, but for y'all at home, I remember watching this and my little Jake jaw hit the floor. She put on something that Jessica was wearing and said, "Don't worry, Jess. I'll take care of Cody for you." And I'm like, you motherfucker. That is true love. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
She absolutely did, which again, I was like, I cannot believe how far this like not love triangle is. It's like Cody can only respect one woman at a time. It's like, no, that's not.
I mean, look, real quick for those people who don't know what you're talking about.
Wine.
Hey Jessica, I just wanted to say thank you for hating me for absolutely no reason and trying to get me evicted multiple times. I wanted to wish you a great summer not making it to jury. And P.S. don't worry about Cody, I'll watch him for you.
Jessica.
So mean. Like, what the hell? Yeah, she was a menace. I don't really know why she was so catty with people, but I mean, hey, she had the cat ears and said petty. She knows what she was doing. What are you gonna do? So, last we got Kevin. Before we get to the final three, how the hell did Kevin get here to the final four, guys? Like, what happened here, guys? Nobody really.
Paul happened.
Yeah, like Alex wanted him gone for weeks. He just stayed around. I know he was this close to getting not only he was about to get Cody on board to do a rally, and then I think he tried to get Jason involved, but Jason obviously he ratted it out. But yeah, nothing that Kevin wanted to do was working for him. Got in a whole lot of arguments with people who he found annoying, like I think it was Josh. He got in an argument with Matt at one point too, but Kevin just did not care. He was like, "Look, I'm here to win money. I got kids. There you go." He was potentially the person that got Paul in the game because he pressed the button and took the money, as he should. I would do the same thing. Look, you're only one person here is winning, and just in case I don't win, I'm taking some money home. So good for Kevin. I think Kevin's still beloved to this day. People like Kevin. He still shows up. He pops out to places. How did you guys feel about Kevin?
I mean, in a house of huge personalities, Kevin just like laid back and knew he didn't have to do much to just keep surviving, So I feel like he took on the dad of the house thing. Like, it was so funny watching night one, and he like looks at Cameron. He's like, "Oh, you're like my nephew. You need to relax. Everything's gonna be okay." And then Cameron's right out that door that night. It's like that boy was not gonna be okay. I don't see why you would target Kevin. Yeah, because his whole thing was usually throwing out a vote, like a stray vote somewhere else to like try and cause chaos. But when Paul's on top of everything, it's not going to do much. But Kevin kind of tried to play the game, so I can't hate on it.
It was definitely like a shield to the point where, a lot of weeks someone was supposed to be going and they were like, you know what? Kevin's still here and he's getting on my nerves. So we're going to take Kevin out instead. And they would just not do it. Probably be like, no, we're not doing that. So, Jake, final thoughts about Kevin?
That impression had me dying. Just no. I like Kevin. Kevin's cool. And I totally forgot. I take everything I said back. Kevin has my favorite moment of the season. His goodbye message to Matt. Just the, "Matt, you're gone. Goodbye." I don't remember exactly what he said. It was so funny. It was, "Matt, take care. Goodbye."
They probably never talked. Like, Kevin was like, I don't know what to say. I'm not gonna BS it. Meanwhile, he invited Ramses over the Thanksgiving, and I'm like, did that ever happen? One thing that I didn't know, which I was like looking up, apparently Alex versus Kevin was a huge thing that she actually addressed it in
Yes,
post-season interviews.
it was
And I was like,
huge.
what?
It
I
was
was trying to
huge.
look for things about Alex and Megan, if she ever like addressed the looking back on that, and instead I found like Alex and Kevin drama, or yeah, and I was like, this is weird. This is a very weird dynamic.
Yeah, the whole season, Alex just hated Kevin. Like, it was so crazy. I was just like, why are you wasting your energy here? But it was just a jarring thing for a majority of the season. I will say that. I was trying to find the goodbye messages, but no one got on YouTube. I see the Kevin and Christmas and Josh fight, but I'm not going to waste time on that. But yeah, just Alex hated Kevin, and I never understood why, but she could not stand the guy, and it was just like the whole season tunnel vision straight on him. It was out of nowhere. I never understood it. But lastly, we could talk about our final three. I hear it in the background. Last we can handle is our final three here. Josh, Paul, and Christmas. Obviously, the more infamous of this cast, and if anyone were to come back from the season outside of Cody and Jessica, obviously is going to be one of these three. Christmas has come back for All Stars. I don't know why. She has. Josh is now a star on the challenge, and Paul. I don't think Paul wants to play again. But I mean, if Paul got the invite, he would. I mean, if Paul wanted to, they would bring him back. He obviously got the invite during All Stars and obviously didn't take it. But yeah. What do we feel about Christmas, Nicole? Because Christmas obviously was easily kind of like brought to this point because of her leg. I'm not going to talk too much about her All Stars 2 appearance, but I mean, I don't think Christmas did much in the season. I think, first of all, should have been medically evacuated because she got to vote in the hospital bed. What the hell was going on there? But she won the one-legged race, and she won a race as a one-legged woman because of Paul. Like, I've never seen that before. We're
When
gonna
that
talk.
happened, like I knew it. It was somewhere inside this brain of everything that I already had with reality TV knowledge. But then when I saw it again, I was like, and it was all because Paul told everyone to throw it. Like, that was it. I was like, actually, this moment might encapsulate the whole entire season. Like, a woman with a like basically torn apart foot hasn't been able to be in most of the comps, wins a competition, HOH, I believe, because Paul told everyone else to throw it, and they did.
A foot race at that.
A foot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Derek, I feel like Paul's like had the most, like, Boston Rob and Survivor that season. That's what this season is. Like, I've never seen that before in my life. Like, the one-legged woman won the foot race because Paul got every person to drop. Paul was like, all right, look, if this person drops, then this person will win. And this person drops. Like, he convinced every person to drop. I've never seen that before. That was crazy. Crazy.
What do you even do when you know you won HOH because of something like that? What is even the rest of the week? At least for Jasmine in season 24, she won it. She won it, and she had to celebrate with a scooter too. But that I think she had a lot of pride. She was only one of 2 women that season to do it. But yeah, when that happened, I was like, this is embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yeah, that was an all-time like big move for Big Brother, in my opinion. I don't think a lot of people talk about it enough, but that was just mind-blowing to watch. Like, you're never going to see that ever. Like, I don't think anyone will ever be able to do that ever again, because there's one thing about people purposely doing it for their own game. These people were literally doing it because Paul told them. Like, it was insane. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, the unfortunate thing about Christmas, I think Christmas wins if she gets to the end. But the thing about Christmas, she had a crush on Paul, and I feel like if she applied more pressure to Josh, maybe Josh wouldn't have taken Paul to the end, maybe. But she basically was like, look, I like Paul. Josh is my friend. Give me third place. You guys can duke it out and win, integrity, all that. Even though, I mean, in All Star, she talks about how it's everyone for themselves and it's a competitive game. Girl, you threw your game away for these people. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, Jake, do you think Christmas wins this season if she sits in the end?
God, I hope not. But yeah, no, she probably does. I want to touch on something we said a little earlier about how Christmas did nothing and she won this HOH. Exact same thing happened in one of the All-Stars competitions. I believe it was an HOH. It was like the hacker techno competition. She didn't do a thing, and it was just thrown to her. So the funny thing about Christmas is I remember she was a get. Like, she was a casting get because she's this Olympic superstar. And Paul noticed that night one. It was like, yeah, let's get her the fuck out. Like, because remember, Paul wanted to vote Christmas out instead of Cameron at first, and he's like, or they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you voting out the nerd over the superstar athlete? Christmas was someone else who had a big ego, and I wasn't a fan of. I don't know why she was brought back for All Stars. I think two amazing moments were just Cody saying, Christmas, you got screwed, and then throwing her on the block. And then in the second HOH, Christmas finding a ticket, like, on the ground, and then Jessica just walking over, just swiping it. It was really iconic. But, no, I mean, I don't want to waste too much time talking about Christmas, because I don't have much to say.
I mean, if All Stars isn't showing how catty she was with other girls as well. I mean, her blatant like dislike of Jessica was insane. It's, just like the arguments they would get into was pretty wild. But what are you going to do? I don't want to spend too much time on Halloween either. But
you threw me for a loop though on that crush though. So that means every time Christmas has been on, she's like, I'm trying to find some kind of love, and she was successful in that second try.
Well, there you go.
Went from Paul to Memphis.
Yeah.
Is that an up or downgrade? I don't know.
I do not know. But I mean, lastly, we could talk about the final two. We've been talking about Paul this whole game, this whole podcast. Sorry. So I mean, there's not much else that we can really include with this outside of he lost the second time around. My God, like that was insane. First of all, I thought Paul had this game locked. I did not think there was a future that they lost. And when it was just crazy to see, I was just like, what the hell? He really got second place with the same shirt that he lost to Nicole Franzel with. And then just to watch his like world like crack, like I was just like, this is like all-time great television. And I feel bad, obviously, because I'm in the camp that feels like, what the hell was this jury? I mean, well, they were bitter. They're allowed to be bitter. That's fine. I'm in the camp. I'm like, you forced me to sit the entire summer to watch this person just completely run the game. Give him the money at this point, right? And then when they give it to Josh, I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy or annoyed. Like first of all, I was hyped because I was very anti-Paul this season. So I was like, yes, he lost. Let's go. I'm like, but Josh won. Like, am I really happy that Josh won? Like, is this rock bottom? Like, Josh is one of the worst winners we've ever seen. Very cocky as well. I mean, if the challenge hasn't shown you, very childish, fights a lot, but I will say, I will take Josh for a second time on Big Brother, only because I think he brings much needed entertainment for me and messy television. I see you, Jay. He's entertaining for me because I like the messiness of the challenges. This guy threw mustard and ketchup at the big guy of the house just to like fight with them because of a pool game, and then start banging pots and pans. I haven't seen this for. I'm not shouting out Evil Dick, but since then. So, like, he was a menace. So, like, I'll take it for the entertainment. But Josh is not a good player. We're going to cut that right now. But I don't know. Am I crazy here? Nicole, who deserved to win the season? Josh or Paul? I know Josh weaponized, I will say this, weaponized goodbye messages to expose what Paul was really doing to people. So I'll give him his kudos to that. But who really deserved to win the season here?
Oh, I don't. Okay, this is tough. This is real tough because, like, I agree with you. The first time I watched, I was not a fan of Paul. Didn't was not familiar with his first season, so I was just basing it on this one. Um, but then with Josh, I remember being happy when Josh won. Um, Partially because I did not like Paul, but also I don't know. Maybe I'm always a sucker just for like a POC person winning, but also it's like Josh is not one thing. He's like one of the most complicated human beings. He's just a human with big feelings.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He has big feelings. If he's sad, he's gonna cry. If he's mad, he's going to shout and use pots and pans. One thing about him that was interesting is that as much as he antagonized people, I think it really did usually come out of like insecurity, because then he always cried and apologized later. And it's really like, what's worse? Is it the person who might say the most messed up thing to you like every other week, but they immediately like cry and apologize later? As Cody loved to say, victim noises. I hated that.
Yes.
Because it's like, or someone who is like Paul, who's going to do all of this conniving stuff, sometimes be condescending to you, whether you know it or not, because you're just so needing his validation. Giving him the win. I kind of liked the story of Josh winning simply because it's like, first of all, he did work. He put it, you cannot say he did not put in work every single week. The work was messy and yeah, but he put in the work. And when I was listening to his final speech, he sounded pretty aware of what his game was, which I think is the hardest thing to do when you finally get to that spot, is be like, now let me pretend everything was on purpose. But he was like pretty self-aware. Yeah. And for Paul, he was very aware, owned his game, I'm pretty sure, but like at the end of it, I guess he just didn't do, or they didn't do the proper jury management. Yeah.
Yeah, but and it's crazy if you watch both of the jury managements from 18 and 19. Paul has some of the worst jury management like we've ever seen, and that's definitely their Achilles heel at this point, where it's like towards the end of the game, instead of keeping it real with people or staying on what you say, you lie in the goodbye messages. You don't say like, like I'm sorry, or you don't even need to say I'm sorry. Just be like, I'm taking you out. You're a threat. Paul blames on someone else. It does not take accountability for certain things, and that pisses people off once they connect the dots, once they get into the jury, and it's unfortunate. I remember Paul did not go back and watch their original season to really like touch up on what they did wrong. I think that they just thought that they lost because of one vote, and you lost because of one vote twice. Like, that's not good. So it must sting to be like one vote away from being a winner two times. The first, is he the first? They're the, I think, the first person to get to the final two twice and lose. And I think Paul has joined a very specific class with Cody Calafiore, Dan Giesling, and that might be it, of people who have made the finale twice. So, and you're the only person not to win out of those three names. So it's it's very interesting, the story of Paul. I don't think Paul would play again. If Paul wanted to, they would have played in All Stars, and I don't think they're interested. But crazy thing, I think Paul actually does relatively well in All Stars 2, seeing the outcome and seeing that cast as well, with Franzel in the fray, Tyler there. There's just a lot of people. Josh was supposed to be there. Christmas, like he actually, they would have did very well. So it's kind of crazy, but to think of, but There you go. And I mean, Josh is Josh. The last thing I wanted to show before we hear Jake, and then we can just start closing out. I found it 2017. My reaction to Josh bringing Paul to the end. I was just very curious to see what this sounded like.
Call me crazy sitting next to Paul.
He is stupid. No. No. No.
That was my original reaction to that. But Jake, what's your final thoughts about Paul or Josh or both? How'd you feel?
I think I'm going to lose some people here, but I was pulling for Paul at that moment. I think Paul played such a masterful game throughout the season, even though production was there. Like I said earlier, I don't like egos and I don't like the crying. So maybe I'm just I was pretty anti-Josh, and I was like, okay, at least if Paul wins, I will never have to see them on my TV screen again as a competitor. And then they lose by 1 vote again, and I'll never forget what happened in the middle of like the 8 votes were red, and you could just see Paul going, not again, not again, not again, because you could tell Paul thought that they had won. But the thing was, Paul did not own their shit in the final speech, because in many interviews, Jason and Alex both said if Paul just would have been straight up, Paul would have gotten our votes. Cody, Paul was never getting. Mark and Elena are as useless as a sock full of butter in it. So, like, they were out. But Paul had a chance, and they blew it. I think that's all I can say about it. And I'm not a Josh fan, but kudos, Josh. You capitalized on Paul's weakness just like you capitalized on other people's weakness, and you gave a pretty passionate final speech. I'd say it's pretty much up there because you could tell how much that Josh cared. I mean, you can't put it next to Taylor's speech, but like you can put it towards like the top half of like winning speeches, because you could see the passion and the care. But I think he's a pretty like D tier winner in my eyes. And Paul played one of the most masterful manipulative games. I mean, they knew what they were signing up for. They were signing up for Big Brother. They weren't signing up for The Bachelor. They were supposed to get manipulated, and they did, and they were mad about it. That being said, Paul's goodbye messages were horrendous, and if Paul ever plays again, it's just sit in a courtroom and watch a lawyer work a jury.
So here's go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, sorry. But like Paul knows. Like that's the weird thing. It's Paul knows because they were sitting between however many teams, showmances, and Paul knows how to win friends over. Well, I don't know if it's complete strangers. Need to watch their first season, but these sets of people, like Paul just knew how to win people over. So I just don't understand when you're like sending the person who you're pretending friendship to be friends with out. Owning it that you were part of it. You made this decision for whatever reason, and I like this about you. Like any little crumb, these people would have eaten it all up, and they would have felt like, maybe Paul backstabbed me, but they actually like me and were on my side for part of the game. I don't understand how you have the influence in so many people's games, and like, them still. Paul needs to do better in that. Paul maybe should have watched their first season, but that's always a crapshoot because remember, Tyler, our boy, he came back for All-Stars and he was so scared of making multiple final twos, claiming that was the reason the first time that he didn't win, which a lot of people would be like, I don't think that's the reason,
Wow.
Tyler. You can really learn bad lessons from watching yourself.
Yeah. And I will say, and this is a really big question I don't think a lot of people have asked. Does Paul get the title of best Big Brother player or winner if Paul wins? That's a real question. How do you feel about that? Where does
No.
Paul rank amongst the winners if Paul does win? Because we all said Josh, low tier winner. Okay. If Paul wins, where does Paul go?
Middle of the pack.
Really?
And that's only because of production interference.
Fair. Okay. But you can't say Dan also had that production interference with his second time, but then again, he didn't win that season, so who cares? But I mean, I'm gonna go off of my state and say I think he's a top 5 winner. Personally, I will say way better than Cody for sure. I think did the Derek game, but even more messier. Obviously, I would say I think Paul and Vanessa are very interesting players in this era, and I'm going to throw Tyler in there as well, where they're players who are playing this very old school way that we've been begging for, but they just don't know how to close out the season. And they're definitely up there with Danny Reyes, for example, with some of the best players never to win. And I do appreciate them as players. It's just like, dang, the future, if they did win, what does it look like? Instead of Steve and Casey and Nicole winning, if we get these people as players, maybe 21 isn't as bad as it is. Maybe All Stars 2 isn't as bad as it is. So who knows? What are you gonna do there? But yeah, that is our ranking. The last thing that's our review. The last thing I do want to ask you guys: where does BB19 rank amongst the rest of the season? Top, middle, or low? I have my answer, but I'm gonna wait for you guys. Thinking very hard.
Okay,
Nicole.
I'm going to go first and just say I admittedly still have a lot of seasons to watch, even for the first time.
Okay.
Because
for
this
what you've
was
seen
my
then.
first, yeah, since that was my first season. And then I'm trying to go back. I finished Big Brother 2 and I'm in the middle of Big Brother 3.
Nice.
Okay, so but if I think of the seasons that I have watched of Big Brother, I mean, it's definitely 24, 23, and then everyone at the bottom. For me, I'll say this had drama every single week. If I am doing this as a study of just reality TV, first of all, something I want to say, Josh played this game like he was in Bad Girls Club. Straight up. And as a person who has watched Bad Girls Club, I was just like, okay, I see what's happening right now. Yeah. And Josh made it beyond Big Brother to do other things because he's reality TV. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And you said at the beginning, when it comes to this cast, I think you might have said that most were forgettable, but I honestly, this was an interesting bag of characters. We had a cowboy clown auctioneer named Whistlenut. When you said Jason, I was like, who for a second? Because that man's name is Whistlenut to me. Alex with cat ears. Yeah, and we have a showmance that this had, and it's lasting. I would say we have 2 marriages. Just in this cast alone, with Christmas married to someone else from a different season, it sticks around. Maybe I need to brush up on 19, 20, and 21, but maybe it goes above those. I don't know.
Okay. How about you, Jake?
No shot. Low middle. I can't get over the bullying that took place in this season and some of Paul's actions and some later thoughts about Cody. I can't remove it. It's the same reason why I can't watch Survivor Philippines anymore. I mean, I respect your opinion. I just don't. I just don't agree with it. Personally, I think it's not the worst season. It's not 21. Yeah, I think there's a few seasons that I would pick it over, but I'd say the lower middle tier.
For me, I actually echo both of you, right? Where I feel like, first of all, watching the season live, I hated it. And until I was forced to watch it because of the season, because of the series, I promised myself I will never in my lifetime go back and watch Big Brother 19 ever again. I was so disappointed and I was so annoyed. So I was I actually considered skipping this season during the formation of this. I'm like, you know what? Staying true to the process. I'm gonna watch it. The rewatch, now that I know the ending, it was a lot more enjoyable than I remembered it. And I got to laugh at how silly and ridiculous some of these people are. Because my God, like these fights, especially with Josh, are so bad. Like I'm just like, what is wrong? Why are you guys fighting with tutus and banging pots? Like, what's wrong with you? So like, if I'll give it its credit, but my God, the bullying, the people, I really do not like a lot of these people. It did not want to see a lot of his cast back in. Had Big Brother 21 not happened 2 seasons later, would be the worst season's cast I've ever experienced watching the show. That being said, I will put it in low, but it's like a couple slots towards the top end of low. And I think it had it avoided things like the Dominique situation, I put it a little bit higher. But yeah, I echo both of you. I think you guys are both right here. So glad to finally be out the dark ages of Big Brother. I've gone through 24 through 19, so I can finally stop talking about crappy seasons of Big Brother. It is so thankful. I did this backwards because I didn't want the end result to be, oh, we're going to talk about the bad seasons. No, let's get all this crap out the way, and I can finally talk about fun seasons with messy gameplay. So happy. Obviously, I was happy to talk about 24 and 23, but all right. Anyway, we're out of here. So join us next week. We're going to talk about Big Brother 18. I don't know with who yet, but I'm going to be talking about Big Brother 18 with people. Should be very fun. I'm iffy about this season, but I mean, you know, it's not horrible. So we can talk about Big Brother 18. If you haven't already, please check out the Silent Podcast social media pages. Subscribe to our YouTube, follow our pages, to Twitch, all that fun stuff. We're on all audio platforms. And if you enjoy what you hear, drop a 5-star review, but not 4, because 4 messes up my algorithm. So if it's not 5, keep it to yourself. But I wanted to also thank today's guest, of course, Nicole. Thank you so much. Second time you come. I appreciate everything, and you know you're doing great work on your platforms. Do you want to plug anything? Where can people find you?
You can definitely follow me on Instagram, or Instagram, it's cool too, but Twitter. Twitter is Nikki Bernice. I am constantly writing about television, sometimes movies, on Showbiz Cheat Sheets, so my work is going to be there. Right now, I am covering more scripted stuff because fall, but you know, I try to work in some more Big Brother stuff. If Taylor's doing something, Joseph, I will still slip in an article there.
I met both of them 2 days ago. Great people. They're awesome. You guys will love it.
I'm so jealous. I just thinking about it this whole time.
Shout out Valencia, 5 stars only. I know that's right. Jake, where can people find you? What you into?
You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Goes Online. I don't tweet too much about reality TV, but I'm going through my own personal journey navigating a career as a middle school teacher and leaving a career as a middle school teacher. So you can keep up to date with that journey. I'll always tweet my opinions. And thank you all so much for watching. 5 stars only.
All right, Jake, we're going to get you on the Isaiah and Nicole show. I want to hear about that. We'll talk after the stream. But and lastly, like usual, you can find me at 8 Ball Bangers on all platforms. I I'm strictly doing this right now. I mean, I have a whole lot of other shows, but no Big Brother celebrity to worry about right now. Big Brother Canada is not here right now. So you can find me here talking about Big Brother every week, like usual. Find me on the Purple Pants podcast, talking about music, and Aux Court approved on RHAP, which is making a return in December, where I'm talking about some of my favorite albums of the year. I have some crazy fun guests to talk about a lot of stuff. So if you are into music and you enjoyed that series last year, check it out this year. But until next Monday or Sunday to talk about Nicole Franzel's Big Brother 18 win, I'm Isaiah. Have a good one. Bye.